Welcome to a few moments together on the Parsha. This Shabbos we have the privilege of reading Parshas Terumah. The Parsha of Terumah begins the order of the Parshiot that speak about the setting up of the Mishkan. The Mishkan itself, of course, was representative of the dwelling place of Hashem, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu here on earth. All the vessels in the Mishkan and the Mishkan itself were extremely symbolic in their nature. For instance, the Aron is told to us that it was measured all in half measurements. It was Amasayim v'chetzi orko, 2.5 cubits in its length, Amo v'chetzi rochbo, 1.5 cubits in its width, v'amo v'chetzi komaso, and 1.5 cubits in its height. All representative of the fact that the Aron, which housed in it the Torah and the Luchos, the tablets of the Ten Commandments, are all in halves, and we need to be striving constantly to fulfill the whole. We're only half the equation. Perhaps two chavrusas, two study partners who learn together, can achieve a greater whole. A Rebbe and his Talmud together can achieve a greater whole. The Torah Shebiksav, the Torah Shebal Peh, together can achieve a greater whole. But in and of itself, it's symbolic of the fact that we're not ever complete with the study of Torah. The Shulchan also had measurements, most of which were whole. For instance, it was 2 cubits in its length, it was 1 cubit in its width, and 1.5 cubits in its height. So in other words, the height of the Shulchan was greater than the width of the Shulchan. By the Aron, the width and the height were the same, 1.5. By the Shulchan, the width of the Shulchan was a little bit less than the height of the Shulchan, the height being 1.5 and the width being 1. Our sages, our commentaries point out that this is to teach us that the width, the breadth, so to speak, of our table should not be the main goal in life, but rather the heights one can reach through the table by having the table being used as its purpose to synthesize the spirit and the body together. And isn't it important to note that the Shulchan was in the Mishkan, as if to say that Hashem is concerned about our physical natures, and that we too have to participate and partake of our physical natures. But to remember that the physical nature and the breadth of it is not to exceed the height, but rather the height is to exceed the physical table itself. We know that our rabbis have said, Shulchan dome lemizbeach, that the table is similar to the altar. One of the things we do on the table is we always put salt on the table, because every carbon, as the pasuk says, al kor karboncha takriv melach, every coming close expression of offering to Hashem had salt. The table is our mizbeach. It helps us achieve a closeness with Hashem himself. But that closeness is to be built up greater in height than in the width. How do we get closer through the table? We invite people to participate in the eating of the Shabbos meals, or at some other point where we can do charity through the use of the table. Also, we say words of Torah at the table. We increase the height of the spirit greater than the breadth of the food that is offered on the table, because the Shulchan had a greater height than it did a width. So we're not negating the physicality of our lives. Hashem didn't negate it. He told us that we're to have an integral part of it in the Mishkan itself. And Hashem himself watches over the bread that was brought on the table of the showbread, set in the Mishkan, as it was put there each week. We too have to realize and be aware that we have to raise up the table of the showbread, the table that is reminiscent of the coming close to Hashem through our physicality, while recognizing that the spiritual uplift that we get has to exceed the physical pleasures that we place on the table, which Hashem wants us to enjoy. Hashem wants us to enjoy life. And when we do that, we are lifted up even higher than the breadth of our table. Have a wonderful Shabbos.